so let's just get started. Let's jump right into this. So we're going to talk about onboarding a little bit today, and as you know, I'm your friend, Sean. Okay, so what you might be wondering right about now is, what is onboarding? And I know we talked a little bit about it a couple weeks ago in class, but just so everybody's on the same page, onboarding is the process of helping new employees adjust to both social and performance aspects of their new job. You might have heard it called as organizational socialization before, and the gist of it is that you're supposed to be making new employees feel welcome and a part of the team, and also ensuring that they're competent in their new work, and basically just creating that friendly environment for that new employee, and in return boosting the productivity of that said employee and making them loyal to the company. So, onboarding, why is it important? Well, so 25% of the US population goes through some kind of career change in any given year, and which is, that's not necessarily a bad thing. However, half of the hourly workers that go through that career change, half of them leave that job in the first 4 months that they've started, and then half of the senior outside hires leave that job in the first 18 months. So basically, studies have shown that if an employee is more competent in their work, or they become like a figure at that workplace, they're less likely to leave their job, and a way to ensure that they do that is by onboarding. So, there's two types of onboarding. There's formal and informal. We're mostly going to focus on formal onboarding today. Informal is, as you can see, it's not really just it's like you don't really have a plan. It'd be more of, somebody just kind of walking you around and be like, hey, this is the new guy, and stuff like that. Wow. So I know what you guys are thinking right about now. You're probably thinking, dang, onboarding sounds great. But how do we do it? Well, I'll tell you. So basically, you have the first 90 days is how to really get people in the groove of working and stuff. So that's like where you really want to focus, is those first 90 days. So you can't waste any time. Second, you really want to focus on what's expected in the workplace. What are the norms and their job and basically, just their expectations. And something that I thought was pretty interesting is most hourly workers won't even come back if they have a bad first day. So I don't know, I just thought that was a pretty interesting thing, that they would give up after a bad first day. So that reminds me of one time I was back in high school. I started at this place, and I was a dishwasher, and so it was actually at a Sodexo, and they have like this industrial dishwasher, and then I put like a big cast iron pot through this dishwasher, and when it came out it was just filled with water. So then I was like, oh, I'll just take that out and dump it in the sink. Well, when I picked it up, I didn't know that it was like just gonna be like scalding hot. So I like picked it up and was like, and I dropped it, and then it like, when it fell on the ground, it just like splashed all this hot water into my face, and I like kind of had burns on my face, and they sent me home, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry. So I like that, yeah, okay. But anyway, so that was my first day, but I did come back, all right? Sorry. Yeah. Okay, focusing back more on how to onboard. We're going to talk about some of just like the basic steps that you might try to establish. So these are called the 4 C's, and they're just things that you really want to focus on. So compliance is, you really want to make sure that this new employee is on your team. He's gonna do what you want them, he or she is gonna do what you want them to do, and also that they're gonna, you know, understand the basic level of what their job requires. Clarification then is just being sure that they are tracking with you and picking up what you're putting down and knowing, you know, everything that you're talking, because you don't want, you know, things to go in one ear and out the other. And the culture. So I put up there like casual Fridays because it's just making sure that the employee knows, you know, what's going on in the workplace, both like formal and informal. So I'd say cultural, like casual Fridays is a pretty like informal thing, but you really would feel a part of something if, you know, someone's like, hey, on Friday, like, get your blue jeans out, because it's casual Friday. And then just connection, and that's helping them help themselves. So you really want to get them connected with the interpersonal / informational networks, so they can, if they have any questions, they can find it by themselves, or, you know, make friends and ask, like, hey Ted, where's the water cooler, or something like that. Okay, group time. So, I'm sure you guys have kind of gotten into the niche of what groups you're gonna be in. So, why don't you get into those groups, and then discuss how you have seen the 4 C's of onboarding been used when you've been hired, or if you haven't really seen them, how would you implement those when you have hired a new employee? I've gathered my thoughts now. Okay, so before we move on, did anybody have you know, an experience or any thoughts about the 4 C's that they want to bring to the whole class's attention? Okay, we'll keep it to yourself then. Okay, so then.
Hey, also question this.
Oh, okay.
So Amanda and I talked about how you've not how imperative the connection is, and she said something very intriguing, which was the sooner you can not feel like a new person, the better. So fostering those connections quickly is good for everyone. That's all, Amanda. I'm just.
That was very insightful, guys.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you for your thoughts. Okay. So more things about onboarding for you guys to think about is these next building blocks that I want to talk about. So self-efficacy is the word that I was trying to say, and that is the idea that if an employee is confident in themselves and in their new job, that they'll be more motivated and in return more productive. So yeah, that's like a role. The role of onboarding is to increase self-efficacy, and then that will in return help the company because it's increasing productivity. The next building block that I want to talk about is role clarity, and that's just making sure the new employee like understands that this, like, the organization that they're working for, the company that they're working for is supposed to work like a well-oiled machine, and if they don't know their job, if they don't know their role, like, that really slows things down. So if you can clarify what they're supposed to be doing exactly and make sure that they're on the same page, and you know, that their gears are turning and just everything will go smoother. And then kind of on the more social aspect of things is social integration, which is just building up those relationships and their working relationships. You don't want your employees to be uncomfortable working with each other or near each other even. And just a little anecdote that I thought was worth mentioning was that 60% of managers who fail to onboard successfully said that it was because of failure to establish working relationships. So I just think that goes to show, actually I'm kind of glad that Tashi shared what Amanda had said, because working relationships is definitely helps people not feel like the new guy anymore. So, yeah, I'm glad that that kind of popped up. And then, going off more of kind of, the culture and whatnot is knowledge of the culture. And that's just basically the politics and goals that the company have. Each company will have its own like language. I mean, they're not like actually speaking a different language, but you know, say, for example, I work for Bethel Security, and like we have things called like 10 codes or something like that, and people who don't work for them wouldn't really know what that means. So it's just like little things that like that, where as soon as you know those things, you'll be kind of on the same page as everybody else. All right, and then kind of putting things into action. You should, to start onboarding, you have to be ready. You have to be prepared. When you can't just say, oh, you know, there's a new employee coming today. Let's get things moving. Let's get, you know, get him a seat or something. You should have his or her pens, pencils ready, their desk stocked, their paperwork ready to be filled out, things like that. And a lot of times a new employee will be nervous that they need to make a good first impression, but really the employer should make a good first impression as well, being friendly and just welcoming. And then definitely have a written plan and goals and events. Just so this employee knows, like, hey, we really want to develop you and you know, have this be a productive job for you as well as you produce things for us. And participation is not optional. It's kind of like, you know, when people would stand around in dodgeball and like they're not getting anything out of that. So you gotta make sure that they're participating and tracking with you and making sure that they're just soaking everything up like a sponge. And then plan meetings with maybe yourself and that employee, but also with just other employees just to be in on it, so they're kind of hanging out and interacting with each other, and you can see how that's going and see if you need to like have more social interaction for that employee or less if they're not like being productive anymore. And lastly, be extremely clear with what you are trying to do and what you want them to do, and yeah, just have great communication. All right, so now it's group time again, and we could either do this in a big group if you wanted, or in your small groups again, but just discuss what aspects of onboarding that you guys think you will like and that you guys think that you might not like.
As employees coming in or as the managers who are onboarding?
I was thinking employees coming in.
Okay.
Yeah, so kind of like I'll just paint a picture of what I had in my head. I know that, so things like when I said participation isn't optional, I know there will be like times where it'll feel like your employer is trying to hold your hand and like say, hey, come on, do this, and you just are like, no, I graduated from college, like I want to just do my job, and that's not really, you know, you're a part of a team now. So that was like what I was thinking, and I thought maybe that you guys might have had some thoughts similar to those.
I think being a new employee, it could get overwhelming quickly. And so I would look forward to, you know, rigorous training sessions about how to actually do my job. I think that's necessary, but if there's a way to kind of break that down over a few days or something so that I can ease my way in. Because I want to do it well, you know,
Yeah.
and so if I get everything at one time, that could be very overwhelming.
Thank you.
I think it's really important because, you know, you probably asked culture questions in the interview. values, but the first day of onboarding is really where employees, that's like the very basic, okay, this is how this employer values employees, and it's so important to start that right the very first day, and I think a lot of companies don't really do that.
Yeah.
And then that just sets employees up for down the road going, well, this, they never valued me anyway.
Mhm.
So I wonder how much of that you could trace back to their desk not being ready, or they show
Yeah.
up and it's like, oh, shoot, we'll have your computer ready by the end of today or tomorrow, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
So, I don't know which that fits into, but
It definitely fits
to
in
some.
there for sure. All right, anybody else? And if not, do you have any questions about onboarding for me? Do you have any questions about life for me?
How does security onboard? Like, is it a long process?
Not, well, yeah, actually kind of. They give you like a booklet and some like online training that you're supposed to do. So then everybody's kind of on the same page when they come in, and then they bring you in and you get, you tour the whole school, and like they kind of say, okay, this is, you know, this part of the campus, and like if you're ever over here like patrolling is what they call it, and then you'd call in and say, hey, I'm patrolling this area, and you know, and then you do that with everybody who you got hired with. So it's not just you and your boss, it's you and your like coworkers too. And then, yeah, then I think you have an interview after you're hired, and kind of you were supposed to talk about what you want to get out of the position that you just got. Yeah. Is that it? Cool.